Hey music friends, this is Davi Vasc. I'm a music composer for games and I can't believe today is the first time we're actually gonna listen to and talk about some music from Chrono Trigger. And this is To Faraway Times, which I believe is the credits theme. This is literally one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Let's go! Man, this is so nostalgic. The strings. Yeah, and this is the credits theme. This is very interesting because, oh man, listen to the melody, man. How flute. You know what's interesting? This is a unique melody. Unique to the credits. Amazing. So, like, bittersweet, right? Your journey's over, you completed your objective, but there's a nostalgia to it, there's a longing to it. The journey's over, right? But check this out. First of all, man, this sound palette, the sound samples from the Super Nintendo sound so nostalgic, man. If you grew up with the Super Nintendo, you know what I'm talking about. These sounds sound so familiar, so nostalgic. But it's interesting that in credits theme, to evoke that sensation of nostalgia and like a bittersweetness for the journey that is over. Usually, and this is something that I do in my own soundtracks as well, you use melodies and themes and leitmotifs from the game so that you will create a sensation of familiarity, right? And trigger some memories from the journey that the player has went through. You use some familiar melodies, you use like character melodies, location melodies. But here, Yasunori Mitsuda, the composer for Chrono Trigger, made a completely unique, completely new theme for the credits. And while doing that, he still manages to make it sound like Chrono Trigger, to sound familiar in the sense that it sounds like it belongs in the world of Chrono Trigger, and trigger those memories without using familiar melodies. That's such a masterful thing to do. And I'm gonna show you one of the ways he makes this a new melody, but at the same time makes this a familiar melody, something that still triggers those nostalgic memories and that sense of bittersweetness for the journey that is successful but over. So check this out. So check out the melody on the flute that comes up. Listen to how it sounds familiar. It's coming up. Here it comes. Okay, so there are two elements here. For anyone that knows Chrono Trigger's soundtrack and is familiar with the game, has played the game, there are two elements here that immediately sound like Chrono Trigger. So he does. So this little quick descent here, this is a little fragment of melody that he does also on the main theme. And then he goes on. This three notes he also does on the main theme, and it's something of a mannerism that he also does in other tracks as well throughout the Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross soundtrack. But then you might say, hey, Davi, you said like he isn't using leitmotifs and recurring melodies, but you just showed like melodies that he had been using in other tracks of the soundtrack. Yes, But in this case here, I don't think these melodies, specifically these fragments of melodies, are leitmotifs per se. I don't think they mean anything. The melody overall is too different, and these fragments are just too randomly put in. This is what I call Chrono Trigger mannerisms. They're just like little phrases that the composer likes to do and the composer attributes to the sound of Chrono Trigger, but they don't mean anything like leitmotifs do. But these are just mannerisms, you know? It's just stuff that the composer likes to do. It's like musical language. It's not a conscious callback to any specific meaning, to any specific track. And you know, something else that I think is very cool and very unique for Yasunori Mitsuda and this soundtrack yeah, the melody now repeats on the strings, is, you know, during this time in video game music, and especially in JRPG music, everyone was doing very epic orchestral soundtracks, of course, with the limitations of the Super Nintendo, but they were doing Super Nintendo epic orchestras, right? And Yasunori Mitsuda was using these kinds of instrument ensembles with bass. Can you hear this? There's like a hi-hat, right, with drums, a lot of synth. It's such a unique sound, man. Amazing melody. What's next? I don't remember this song entirely. Amazing. I have to show you some of these chords. Can you hear how gentle this melody is? It's very high pitched and it feels very emotional. There's a descending pattern in the melody. It's very, like I said, high pitched. It feels very gentle. Let me show you some of these chords. Check out these chords, how emotional they are. Descending pattern. Amazing. There's a, like I said, there's a descending pattern on the chords. Listen. And then goes up and does this. This chord is very cool. This chord. It's a very cool way to make the song a little bit more melancholic, a little bit more gentle and emotional in a kind of gentle way. Here he needs to do a tense chord, which is this. A chord that generates tension, builds tension, because, you know, in music, if you don't do that, even in a gentle, slow song like this, the music becomes kind of boring. Music needs a certain level of tension. But in order to go straight into the tension, he eases into it by doing this, I'm gonna call this an almost tense chord into the tense chord. Doesn't it feel a little bit more of a melancholic way to do tension? It feels a little bit more gentle and emotional, even though it's still tense, right? And then, oh, the clock sounds. This is a callback to the title screen. Okay, so I told you he wasn't making a lot of callbacks to old tracks, but this is definitely a direct reference to the title screen. For sure. Oh! Well, turns out I really didn't remember this track very well. Because this is another reference to the main theme. This is the main theme. And this plays not only on the title screen, right, on the main theme with a big orchestra with trumpets and stuff, but this also plays in one of the overworld map areas that you walk through to go from like town to town, from dungeon to dungeon. It plays in one of the big maps. So this is a big callback to a very important theme. You not only hear this as soon as you boot up the game, but during the gameplay as well. So nostalgic, man. So powerful. And he's doing the whole thing. Mitsuda lick. That was the Mitsuda lick. Okay, so I won't spend too long explaining this because I've talked about the Mitsuda lick a lot in this channel. Maybe Giovanni, hey, put the explanation of the Mitsuda lick that I did on the Battle Against the True Hero from Undertale. This fragment is definitely a little fragment called the Mitsuda lick. Which is a thing like that people do, game composers and even non-game composers do all the time as a tribute, as a way to reference Yasunori Mitsuda, which is the composer, legendary video game composer from Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Xenoblade, and a bunch of stuff. But it's basically what I was saying before about, you know, mannerisms. The Mitsuda lick is a little fragment of a melody. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a mannerism that makes Chrono Trigger and just in general Yasunori Mitsuda sound like Yasunori Mitsuda. It makes Chrono Trigger sound like Chrono Trigger. And it's this little fragment here. Let me show you. Check this out. Very cool, man. I think it's about to end. The end. This track was suggested on Patreon. If you have a track like this from a legendary game that you love, get on Patreon. Share that track with me over there so that I can share it with the world. After all, this channel is all about sharing the music from the games that we love with each other. So remember, whenever you're ready to spread your wings and go on a music journey again, I'll see you there.